Welcome to the STR deal room. As you can see, I am super, super excited. This is one of my proudest works and masterpieces that I have put out there, and I am so super excited to share this moment with you. Okay, so we're gonna go straight into the due diligence of a listing I have literally just opened because I want to show you in real time what this process looks like. Now, deal finding when it comes to short-term rental property investing is, I would say, it's a mix of an art and definitely a lot of science, right? You definitely don't want to just get into a property deal because it feels like a good price, because it sounds like a great idea, because the real estate agent sold you on how this is a great investment. You want to make sure you have run the numbers. You want to make sure you have done some upfront due diligence, and then you want to go into the second part, like, right? So what you're learning in the STR deal room is mainly the first part of the due diligence I do, which is when I get a property listing, how do I sieve through it and be able to tell if this property is worth my time? If this property is worth me even going to have a look at it or sending someone on my behalf to go and look at it. Like, we haven't even gotten to the point of making an offer. Okay. All right, so let's get right into it. So, as I mentioned, you want to be just so keen on making data-based decisions, not emotional decisions. This is not a dream home, data-based decisions. All right. So this is a property I literally have just opened right now as we have been speaking. So I really haven't had a chance to have a look at this in detail. And this is in the market that I have invested in. So this is in the heart of Cape Town. My strategy on my short-term rentals is apartments for remote work travelers or people who are coming into the city to attend conferences. That really is my strategy. One, because I'm ex-corporate, so I understand what someone who is coming for work will be looking for. And two, I feel like the city center is one of those places which people are divesting from, but I still see this as huge potential because in the city of Cape Town, the convention center is not going anywhere. And there are going to be conferences and conventions there for a very long time to come. So I know there are other places in Cape Town like the Atlantic Seaboard. There are, places like Hook, which are not so much out of town, but more, I would say, more premium places for people to invest. But I still love the city center because it's just convenient and there are so many good deals at accessible price points to get. Now, will I divest from the city center at some point? Of course. But for me, this was my starting strategy and I felt that this was the most accessible. So you need to have done that work for yourself. You need to have determined and use the STR filter framework that is in your learning portal. Go through those steps, right? Don't just get to the part where we're now looking at the listings. Go through those steps, right? And document for yourself. What kind of location do you want? Which market do you want to explore first? What kind of tenant or guest do you want? What guest experience do you want to create? Because when you have documented those things, as you are searching for these properties, you're also going to be doing filters based on what your strategy is, not just based only on the numbers. Okay? Very, very important. All right, so let's go through this listing. Okay, first of all, this speaks in bounds to me. The fact that it's reduced means this property has probably been on the market for some time, or the seller is very desperate to get it off their portfolio. So let's see when it was listed. Yeah, it was listed first in August of 2024. So I believe I can definitely get a good deal on this. I believe I can probably, I mean, if the numbers make sense, I could probably reduce this and give an offer of like 1.2 million, which is 1.2 million rand is, let's just see, that's 80% of the offer price, which is a great discount. Like getting 20% discount in Cape Town is almost unheard of. But that's where I would probably want to start. But anyway, let's not get excited, overexcited. Let's look at the numbers, and also the features of the property. All right. So they say the first thing, I mean, this speaks to a short-term rental investor. The fact that they're saying this at the start, invest in a premier Airbnb apartment, that means that they're speaking to someone like me and you who is looking to buy properties for the purpose of investing as opposed to just, I want to stay in here when I come to Cape Town for holidays. All right. So I'm just going to scheme very, very quickly through this blurb that the real estate agent has said here. So turnkey, okay, turnkey, which means that they're selling the furniture in as well. So I'm going to definitely be having my eyes on the furniture. It's a one-bedroom unit. That's great. It is okay, spacious. Let's see the size. They haven't shared the size. So that's definitely a question I would want to ask the agent what the size is, because I would want to compare that with the property per square meter of any other apartments that I'm looking at in the space, in the area, right? So it's not just about price, it's also about like how much are you paying per square meter and does it make sense? Okay, I love that it has parking. Parking, I love that it has parking, which is one of the biggest headaches I've had on one of my apartments, which doesn't have parking. And we always get the question, can we get parking? Even though we've said on the listing that there's no parking. All right, then it has concierge service. So this is probably a mix of a hotel and apartments from the based on the fact that they've said there's concierge service. But that's a question that I would ask. So I would take down notes of all the questions that I have shared with you as I've gone through the wording and make sure I ask the real estate agent the first time I call them. Okay, is sold as is. I would be interested in understanding what is the value they've placed on the furniture because obviously that is baked into the selling price. Continue with short-term letting. Okay, they've said continue with short-term letting. So does that mean it's currently a short-term rental? If it is, I would be interested in finding out what have been the incomes for the last 12 months. Can they share the statements? If it's been on Airbnb, can they share what has been the monthly income, what has been the occupancy rate? Like that's gold information that you can get. And the way to get this information is when you are putting your offer to purchase, which is like a soft sale agreement before you have the actual sale agreement, you can say, I am putting in my offer to purchase on condition that you provide me with XYZ, including history of rental income, like history that can be verified, like bank statements, provide the actual Airbnb extracts with the Airbnb letterhead, for example, so that it's not just something that is, fudged up. Obviously, you believe that the seller is going to be operating with integrity, but you also want to protect yourself. Okay, and then they say inherit all current bookings. So this is most likely already an Airbnb or a short-term rental, which is great that they are also saying that as you buy this property, you're also going to inherit the bookings, which is awesome. So I would want to know what are the current bookings in place. Obviously, the fact that someone has booked doesn't guarantee that they will not cancel, but it gives you a feel of how well this property is going to do on a short-term rental basis. Okay, okay, then they have used our magic word. Investing means you're investing in a profitable, well, yeah, this is lingo, this is language that I would expect a real estate agent to use, but until I run the numbers, I am not going to assume that it's profitable, right? High yield, yeah, sounds good, but I want to make sure I run the numbers. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the images. Okay, I love the fact that there is a desk in the room, which means there is enough space to walk around in the room and also have a desk, hopefully. That's great. It's great that it's actually is a one bedroom, so it's not a studio where the room is, in the same sort of plan or floor space as the sitting room. There is space for a table, which is great. I love that there is also space for like a living area. I can't see a TV there, which is something I would definitely want to put for my guests. And then it has like a corner kitchen space. So it has very much an open plan. Okay, bathroom, not okay. I think there may you might be able to put a shower, but bathroom is not ideal for remote workers who really just want convenience. But I mean, that's something that we can work with and renovate over time. Okay. It did, yeah, it did like annoy me that there is only one like space for only one of these. I don't know why, but it looks like the electricals, yeah, make it a bit unsymmetric, which is not ideal, but not something that we can't live without. Okay, and then the view, there's no view. But again, my ideal tenants or guests are coming in for work. They're not coming in for pretty views. They're not coming in to like admire the mountain or the harbor. That would be nice, like an add-on, but that's not their primary like criteria for choosing an Airbnb. So that's just something. And I love that it has a lot of cupboard space, which is great. And these are built-in cupboards, which again is another win. So I would say that's like the pet peeve that I have identified. Um, the kitchen does look a bit dated, but it's not too bad. I like that it has a cooker and an oven, which is so important. It has space for a washing, maybe dishwasher, but I guess you can put in a washing machine. They haven't shown the bathroom, which means the bathroom is probably very small. And so, yeah, one would probably have to put the washing machine in that space, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. And then they've shown the outside. As you can see, this is definitely an old building. So I would be interested in understanding what is the management of this building? What are their plans to keep up with managing the building, maintaining the building? What has been the monthly management fees that is being paid? I would definitely want to understand like the reputation and even the name of the management company, which is so important when you are buying an apartment in a building that is managed externally. Okay, so that's the first part. And then the second part is then finding out, before I even go to AirDNA, let's go to the corporate to cash flow calculator because this is where I run all the numbers and I'll show you all the numbers that are in here. So there already is a video showing you how to use the calculator. So I'm not going to go through like how to use it. Please watch the video. So the offer price is 1,450, as you have seen for some reason. And then oh, so offer price is what I am willing to offer. So I mentioned to you all that I would probably put in 1.2 million rand on this property. Market valuation for a property like that, I mean, this is really a thumbs up. This is something that you want to do in the second phase of due diligence. Actually get a valuer to value the property for you and tell you what it is before you finalize on the offer. But you can say in your soft sell agreement that your offer price of 1.2 is on the basis that the market value for this property is at 1.2, right? So we can leave that there. The money market rate in South Africa, yeah, 8% sounds fair enough. I'll probably put in a higher down payment for me because this is like this is not my first property. So the bank is definitely going to ask for more than the first few properties I bought where they were, willing to give me at 100% financing. Mortgage term, I would be looking to definitely, yeah, negotiate at around 25 at least. 25 years, but let's just assume for now that the bank is willing to give 20 and let's see what the costs look like. The renovation costs, I wouldn't say are high, like 5% is fine. I would leave that there. Furnishing costs 10% is reasonable. I usually budget 10% of the purchase price. They haven't shared other numbers, like how much does one pay for management, right? Like what are the the rates, the land rates. So I'm going to put this here just based on properties that I own in the city center. I'm going to put it at 3,000 Rand. And I am going to assume, okay, let me assume that I'm going to get a property manager to handle this. So no housekeeping costs. Electricity and water, let's see. I probably would put electricity slightly higher. Yeah, I think that's more like it. Yep, I think those assumptions make sense. Then I want to get more credible assumptions on the occupancy and the daily rental rate because these two numbers are what are going to dictate how much money you're actually going to make from your rental, like your top line. Okay. And that's where AirDNA comes in. So you're going to come in here. You can sign up like on a trial basis if you want, if you're not ready to make the investment. I think it's like $49 a month or $29. I can't remember the last because I know that they made changes. And you can actually put in the street name, right? In AirDNA, it's called the rentalizer, and it will tell you how much, like what is the average daily rental and the occupancy rates for other Airbnbs in that street. Like it can go to that level of detail. I mean, it's insane the amount of data you can get out of this tool. All right, so I am going to put in the address. And when you're searching, oops, when you're searching based on an address, you want to put in the number, the street number as well, because it will not be able to search without the address. So 37, oh, it had actually shown up there. So I'm going straight into the rentalizer. I'm not even going to look at the market, overall market rates, but that's also something that you can do if like you can't find the street name or it's not on the property listing. So that was a 1 bed, 1 bath, which obviously can take a maximum of 2 guests. So we would want to update that. And let's see what the projected revenue occupancy rates look like. Okay. So AirDNA will tell you what the projected revenue is based on these average daily rental and occupancy rates, but my corporate to cash flow calculator will be so much more accurate. However, you can actually come in here and there is a place in financial calculator where you can come and put in your estimates here and it will do almost what the corporate to cash flow calculator is, but there's no need to duplicate efforts. Okay, so I'm just going to take those occupancy rate and average daily rental rate and I'm going to pop them in here. I think it was 908 and 69%. Okay, then in South Africa, you do pay legal transfer fees. I'm going to estimate around 50%, 50,000. And I think, I don't know if it's the estimates are given here. Let's see. Okay, they don't give the estimates of the legal costs, but yeah. This is something that you can actually get estimates from even before you start doing your due diligence, right? Sometimes in some countries, it's like 1% of the purchase price. It really depends. I know there is a scale that is used in South Africa, but I'm just putting in these estimates based on my experience. But you definitely want to get more like more what is the word? You want to get more accurate estimates than just, yeah, thinking it out of the top of your head. And that's easy to do. You don't need to wait until you have a potential property, right? Usually it's a percentage of property price or there is a scale that the lawyers in the country use and you can utilize that. Okay. So let's see what the numbers look like. Okay. So The reds are not a good sign at all. So first of all, the cap rate, the capitalization rate, it just tells you the overall return based on the purchase price, right? Your net operating income as a percentage of hopefully the offer price is what you'll end up buying this property for is 4%. That's way lower than the mortgage lending rate of around 10.8, 11% that would be offered in South Africa. So just because of that metric, it is not worthwhile, right? The annual rental income of 225,000 is not worthwhile the total costs of managing this property. And as you can see, the annual expenses are high, right? And one of the reasons that is also because you've hired a property manager. So let's see what this looks like if you didn't have a property manager, if you self-managed. And you can still self-manage remotely, but then you will have housekeeping costs. So let's assume you hire a housekeeper. Um, you can definitely hire someone for 1,500 Rand a month. Again, you're going to have to validate this. What does this look like? So the cap rate has improved, but it's still not high enough, right? Which to me means that the rental income you're going to get from this property is not worth the price unless we reduce this price even further. So let's see what it looks like if you reduce it to 1 million. At 1 million, now the cap rate is so much better, but the cash on cash return on investment is definitely not worth it, right? And the cash on cash return investment it's just what is your net operating income less all your expenses, including your mortgage expenses as a percentage of the amount you've had to put down to own the property. All right. So unless you're able to get this even at the 1 million, unless you can improve your daily rental, this is probably the only way. So let's leave that at 1,200. Probably the only way to make this investment work is by having a higher daily rental, like let's say 1,200. Let's see what it looks like if you're charging 1,200. Okay, now the cap rate is better, but the cash on cash return is still not worth it. Like 8% is the same amount you'll get if you just put your money in the money market fund, right? So even though the cap rate is at least 1 to 2% higher than your mortgage lending rate, the cash on cash return still doesn't make sense, right? So this is going to be really difficult to make money. I mean, I was really excited about this property, but now I'm not so excited. However, the fact that this has been a short-term rental means we can actually get actual data, real data on what the daily rentals have been and what has been the occupancy rate to then maybe you might find that this is actually, higher than the 908. You might, if it's, let's say if it's 1,500, let's see what the returns look like. Now we're speaking, like now we're in the game. If you could get this property to give you an average daily rental of 1,500 Rand a day, at an occupancy rate of 69%, now you're in the money. Now you're speaking. And the only way to validate these two assumptions, given the fact that this is already a short-term rental, is by actually asking for the data. Okay. So this is how you do your due diligence in under 20 minutes. So in under 20 minutes, I have taken you through how I do my due diligence on the listing itself, and then how I run the numbers, and then what metrics do I like play around with to see how I can make this either a viable investment or whether it's, not viable at all. So if this was not a short-term rental, I definitely wouldn't make an offer because then there would be no data, historical data to look at to see if I can actually get a daily rental that makes sense. at this amount. Because just based on information from AirDNA, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. All right. I hope you found this helpful. And I look forward to all of you making deals confidently and just confidently going through this process. The more you do it, the better you become. Like the more savvy and experienced you become. And the point of doing this using this 20-minute STR deal room method is for you to be able to collapse the time between you doing the research and going out there and making offers to purchase. Because the only people who are earning rental income that replaces their paycheck are the people who actually make the offers to purchase and eventually own property. Like you don't earn rental income from research. Okay. So that's what this tool is meant to help you with. All right. Happy property due diligencing, if that word exists. And I will see you on the other side. Bye.